You're listening to Making Money Online with Lisa Johnson, the podcast that tells you what it really takes to build a business and the simple steps to get you there. I'm determined to share with you the reality of easy, simple business marketing tips to make passive income so that you can start making money online. Making Money Online is sponsored by Nicola J. Rowley PR, helping entrepreneurs and brands get visible through strategic storytelling. If you're serious about being seen and impacting the lives of others, harnessing the power of PR is the best way to grow and scale your business. Visit njrpr.com for more details and read Nicola's best-selling book, The Power of PR. Hi, guys, and welcome to this week's podcast. While this is not necessarily a business topic, I actually think it could really help people in business. So I wanted to bring somebody on who can really help explain why this is important and explain how we can do things. So I'm here with Kate Hall. Kate helps families to reduce their food waste and cook from scratch easily by using their freezer more effectively and without the whole batch cooking that we hear about often. I'm going to give you a stat to start with. £720. That's how much the average person, the average family wastes every single year on just the basic food, the bread, the milk, that kind of thing. But get this stat here. In the UK, 2.1 million potatoes are wasted every year. Food waste has become a massive problem. So welcome, Kate. Really nice to have you here. Tell me why you care about this.
So I have to admit, it all really started with my own family, because I found that when we had my second child, I was just wasting a hideous amount of food. So I was looking at it, going off in the fridge and doing that thing that we do where, you know, we open the fridge, we see something that's going off and we just close the fridge and we just wait until it's a bit more gone off or moldy so we don't feel quite so guilty about throwing it away. And we just got to a point where we couldn't actually afford for me to keep on throwing away all this lovely nutritious food that I'd bought and I'd meant to cook with and then get takeout or then get convenience foods. So I had this sort of light bulb moment that it's like, well, actually I could be freezing it. And that started down a path. And the more that I delved into that and the more that I spoke to experts around freezing and food waste and everything like that, then it clicked with the environmental issue.
Yeah, and you realised there was a thing there.
Yeah, and the fact that when we waste food, so few of us realise when we waste a banana, for example, we're not just wasting the banana, we're wasting all of the water, all the land, all the transportation, if it's in packaging. Like there are so many resources that go into our food, and globally and in the UK, we waste about 30% of everything that's produced.
Oh, wow,
which
that's
is just crazy.
Big number. I will admit to being somebody that doesn't really think about this very much. I do chuck away a lot of food that just goes off and we think, oh, you know, it's not bother. And one of the things that people always said to me was, well, just batch cook with it and put everything in the freezer. I don't cook anyway, but there's no way I'm going to be able to get Sam to spend 2 hours or 3 hours batch cooking. Is that what you started with, the batch cooking first?
It was. So I batch cooked for about 10, 15 years before I started doing what I'm doing. And it worked for me then. But I do think, you know, you have to have a certain mindset to batch cook. And also, you have to not be that bothered about variety. Like I found as time's gone on, I've gotten more and more like, I want to eat what I feel like eating. I want to have whatever we fancy today. And I actually found that, you know, it's like people who meal plan, I take my hats off to them because I can't decide on Sunday what I want to eat on Thursday.
Me neither. I'm not very good at that. Well, I won't know what I might want. It's like when people tell you in a restaurant to pre-book, but I don't know what I will want on that day. So I totally understand. And there's a bit of with your story, there was some comfort in knowing that there was always food in the freezer. Tell us about what happened to you.
Absolutely. So I was really ill in my early 20s. I had blood clots in my shoulders, completely out of the blue. You know, didn't expect anything to happen. It wasn't anything hereditary. And I had to have my top ribs removed to release the pressure. Basically, the vein was getting trapped under the rib. And after the first time I got sick, I was living in London and my parents were up north and my mum came down south and she filled up my freezer for me. And it was the most wonderful thing with her being back at home and me coming home from a long day at work to pull one of these batch cooked meals out of the freezer and be able to have this lovely home cooked dinner. And it's like getting a hug from my mum all those miles away. Absolutely. And without, I think, consciously knowing I was doing it, I just carried on that as the freezer ran down, I would refill it, because actually that thing of having those meals there meant that if I got sick again, I knew at least dinner was there, and I knew there was a home cooked meal, and I didn't have to rely on takeout, because obviously, because the clots were in my arms, cooking's quite tricky.
Yeah, and I guess there's an emotional crutch to that, I think, as well. You know, we develop emotional habits that make us feel better because of what's going on around us or what's happened. It's like a trauma response. And it sounds like that's what happened. And so eventually you gave up on the batch cooking with having your kids, which is what we all do. We all start off with that, I'm going to cook so much stuff for the kids and it's all going to be healthy food. I'm going to batch cook it. So I had twins and I started that and then went, no.
I did it with my first. It was great with my first. But when the second came along, I was like, I've got a screaming baby. I've got a screaming toddler. Like, no, just I can't do it. I just can't do it anymore. So
if you had 3 hours, you would sleep in that 3 hours rather than cook.
Absolutely. I had no desire. And even now, you know, they're 5 and 3 now. I have no desire to spend that big a block of time in the kitchen, even if I had it. I just don't want to do it now. Tell
us about the new way that you do things. And you've been on television talking about this, haven't you? So
yes.
Tell us about that as well.
So, as I said, I kind of had this light bulb moment that was just the realization that if you can freeze a meal, surely you can freeze all of the ingredients that go into it. Now, obviously, I'm not wanting to make extra work here. I'm not freezing things for the sake of it. But so often I would buy food with good intentions that it's like, we're going to eat this particular thing tonight, and then we'd end up having takeout or we'd go out somewhere. And the way I use the freezer is basically as a pause button. So if I can see there's something in my fridge that is going to go off, or something from the cupboard that I'd only ever use half of, or like, you know, it's the things like pesto, where you take a tablespoon and you put the jar in the fridge, and then 4 months later you go, oh, that's a bit furry. I'll just throw that away. So I just started freezing these individual items. And as the time went on, I had enough items to be able to make a meal. And realised that if I just kept on topping up as and when, so it's things like getting a bag of onions or getting a pack of peppers, and particularly where you get those bulk packs and they're better value, things like carrots, like you always have more carrots than you need.
Yeah.
And I just prep them. So as I'm doing one meal in the evening, if I've bunged that in the oven, I'll just cut up the rest of the carrots or whatever it is, and then freeze it. And then next time I want to cook dinner, I can literally just go, oh, you know what? I don't fancy chopping or prepping anything tonight. I'll grab a handful of onions, handful of carrots, handful of peppers, whatever it is, and just cook up whatever it is we actually fancy eating.
That time, yeah. Oh, does it lose any nutritional value doing that?
No. I mean, you'd have a degree of nutritional value that would be lost in the sense that the food is you lose some in the freezing, but not as much as if you left the food in your fridge. And my position on it is very much, you get better nutritional value than if you threw the food away and ordered a takeout.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is what we would do in the past.
And what do you have, like some kind of organisational system? And what do your freezer look like? I feel like it's like Carrie Bradshaw's shoe cupboard, where there's just everything is organised.
Yeah, it's a little bit like that. It's a bit sad. I refer to it as sort of my filing cabinet of food. So each drawer is labelled with kind of dairy or cupboard stuff. So if I've used something from the cupboard and frozen leftovers, fruit, veggies, meat, so on and so forth. But then inside, I store everything in bags rather than tubs. And I use the IKEA bags, and they have this coloured strip across the top, and I'll write on the top what it is. And then I've basically got all the bags stacked up together, so I can just flick through and pull out what I want.
It is literally a filing system of food.
Literally a filing, yeah. It's a bit sad, but it really works, and I can find things, which I think is the most important thing, because usually you put things in a freezer and that's it, it's gone forever. Like, I'll see you in a year.
So when you got invited to go on television, what was that about?
That was about freezing Christmas dinner. So it wasn't the original conversation. And I got quite a lot of coverage over that because I think quite a few people thought that I was actually like cooking the Christmas dinner and then freezing it. So there were a lot of conversations about the fact that it's like, no, I'm literally just prepping things. So it's things like getting your roast potatoes as if you were cooking them fresh, but instead of putting them in the oven, you cool them down and you put them in the freezer. And then when you want to cook with them, you just take them straight from the freezer and they go straight into the oven.
That's a good idea, because everybody, like Sam makes Christmas dinner and he's like, the prepping of it is the thing that takes the time, and I have to do it in the morning so I don't get to chat to everyone. And actually you can, because you can just freeze it all beforehand and bring it out.
That's it. I mean, I think I got a lot of the coverage because I did actually prep mine in September, which is unnecessarily early. But I thought it made a good story.
Made a good headline. What were you on? Was it ITV you were on? What programme?
Channel 4 on Steph's Packed Lunch. So yeah, it was quite the baptism of fire. Like live TV, I'd got John Waite to one side of me. I'd bumped into Kerry Katona, which is like a flashback to my youth in the green room. And then they set me up with, okay, this is what we want you to do, which was prepping the roast potatoes. So I'd got boiling water, hot oil, hot oven. And it's like, hang on, so how many hazards have you got here for me to do on live TV?
But anything could have happened.
That's it. But it was really good fun. It was really good fun. Absolute honour. Yeah.
Oh, that's so good that the word is getting out there, because I think that people don't think about wasting food as much, and that's one element of it. But the element that came to me immediately was the thing that entrepreneurs talk to me about, especially female entrepreneurs with kids, is they don't have time to do healthy nutrition. They don't have time for that. They get takeout all the time, or they don't eat themselves. They cook for their kids and then they don't even eat because they're too busy and they're back on the laptop. And in the evening, rather than spending time actually cooking and eating a good meal, they're actually working, which we know what it's like in that first couple of years of starting your business. It is like that. It is, you become obsessive and all you want to do is work. And there's some good things about that, but it does mean that your health, and health is a massive priority for me this year. And I think that food is the beginning blocks of all health.
Yeah.
Really is. And so people need to be eating well. And this is a way that they can do it.
Absolutely. Because that's one of the things that I love with it, is that you can separate that prepping and the cooking, and it also allows you to get the family involved. So it's like you could get the boys just chopping some onions or chopping some peppers or doing, and so I found with as I said, my kids are only little, but like they'll help me put berries out on a tray if they've got some strawberries and they're starting to go a bit squishy. So some of the things that I freeze, there's no way, like my son has no interest in eating broccoli, but I can get him to like put it out on the tray and stuff, and then he gets the exposure to it. So even if he's not eating it, he's still getting some exposure. And I'm by no means like perfect when it comes to nutritious foods for the kids. Like I have chicken nuggets in my freezer. I have
Everyone
fish
does.
fingers,
even the people that pretend they don't.
Exactly. Like sometimes you do just need the thing that that they're going to eat. But I think sometimes if I'm in that zone where it's like, okay, I want to make sure that they do get something, it's a lot easier for me to just grab something from the freezer and be like, I'm literally going to cook one piece of broccoli. I know they're not going to eat it, but at least they can see it. It's on the plate. It's just there. They don't have to be scared of it. And I've not gone out and had to buy something to cook it to have them turn their nose up at it.
Yeah, and eventually they'll start eating it because they'll get used to it being there.
That's it. But I mean, even more importantly, I think like obviously the kid side is important, but like you were saying about us looking after ourselves and eating well and everything, if I had to start chopping and dicing and whatever every evening, I would always be on convenience foods and takeaways, because I'm exactly the same. I work every evening. I'm a new small business. I'm just getting started and I want to work. I enjoy the work. If it took a long time for me to cook, I wouldn't do it. But because the ingredients are there and they're prepped, and especially because we've got so many veggies, it's like I can make something really quickly, a pasta dish or risotto or whatever, and I can just stuff it with vegetables. And I wouldn't do that if I had to go and buy them all and start chopping at 8 o'clock at night. It's like, I can't be bothered.
No, I totally get that. So Your business now, is your business around helping people to do this themselves?
Yes, absolutely.
That's amazing. And how do you do that? Through a course, or is that more on a one-to-one basis?
So I do it through a course, thanks to One to Many, which is a 6-week course and takes people through the way to prep and freeze things and understanding what they can freeze and how best to freeze things, but also covering off the food safety aspect, because that's something that I find holds people back a lot. That they
would me. I'm a bit like, what might happen to me? And I could give anyone food poisoning very quickly. I have done before. So I feel like I would need to know the safety aspect of it, and it confuses me.
And that's one of the things that I found, because I didn't know the food safety stuff before. Like, I'm level 3 food safety certified now because I was terrified of making my own family sick. Like, I would put meat in the freezer and it would never come out again because I was just so terrified of defrosting it. But I think once you're equipped with the knowledge, which isn't very exciting and it isn't very sexy, but once you know it, it's so much easier to not waste food because you know confidently what's okay, what's not. And the biggest thing I find that people are like, oh my gosh, that's life-changing, is understanding how to defrost things and how to do it quickly and how to freeze things so that they defrost faster so that you can get dinner on the table. Because the amount of people that contact me and they're like, oh, I got this out to defrost and it's like 24 hours later and it's still frozen in the middle. And now I don't know if it's okay for tomorrow's dinner instead. And I just give up. I'm not using my freezer again. And it's like, no, there are better ways. I cover off things like that with the course. I do corporate social responsibility sessions as well. So I work with companies to inform their employees around why food waste matters and some things they can do to get started. And then I do brand work as well. So I've collaborated with some brands. So like I did a campaign in the summer with Love Food, Hate Waste, which is a government charity, basically raising awareness around barbecues and how we can reduce the waste from when we have a barbecue. And I'll basically speak to anybody about food waste and freezing. Anybody ask me, I'm always happy to chat.
Oh, that's amazing. It's been so nice to talk to you about this. It's something that I haven't been involved in before. So I was really interested to see, like, first of all, how you can make a business from it. And it's brilliant that you are. And it really does go to show that you can make businesses from your passions, because that was your passion and you're now making money from it, which is amazing. But secondly, it's really interesting to find out new ways we can do things to be more sustainable, especially when they're easy. And I think that makes people do it more, which is really good. Yeah. So thank you for coming on. If people want to come and learn a bit more about how to do this or check out your course, where's the best place to find you?
I would say the best place to head's probably thefullfreezer.com. And then from there, you can find my socials, and I've got lots of downloads and things if you want to find more about how it all works, basically.
Oh, that's brilliant. We will put the links in the show notes as well, guys. If you want to go head down there and just click on it, you'll go straight there. Thank you for being here, and thank you guys for listening. I will be back next week with a brand new podcast for you. Have a good day, whatever it is that you're up to. Thank you for listening to Making Money Online with Lisa Johnson. If you would like to get your hands on my brand new book that's coming soon, then you can pre-order now and get lots of juicy bonuses. All you need to do is go to makemoneyonlinebook.co.